Welcome to Knicksfandom. This is an independent New York Knicks fan-based podcast, which was created by fans for fans. The show is hosted by LA Blackwell, Danny, and Flau. They'll discuss the issues surrounding the Knicks, the NBA, and various other sports-related topics. Join us. It's going to be a heck of a ride.
Just like Uniblack, robotic kicking flab. This is episode 42 of Knicks Fandom, and we back, people. We back. As always, I'm your host, LA Blackwell. Hope all of this out there are doing great. Glad to be joined by my co-host, Flo. How you been doing, Flo?
LA, I'm great today, brother. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. Been out there for a little while, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about right at the end of the Knicks season coming upon us. I'm also glad to be joined by my other co-host. How you doing, Danny D?
LA, like they say, what's going on, man? How's everything?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. You know, Craig Matt, rest in peace. Had to bring some energy for the fellas. But, it's 5 more games with the Knicks for the season, fellas. It's been a long season, fellas. But, thankfully, there's no way I would describe this Knicks season but terrible, horrible, and flat-out disappointing. But there's a glimmer of hope, people. And that glimmer of hope in the recent few games of the Knicks season has been Trey Burke's spectacular play and a much-guaranteed top Knicks draft pick in this year's upcoming NBA draft. But, fellas, we got a few things to talk about. I want to jump right into it right now. And as we start our Knicks roundup, fellas, what are your overall thoughts regarding the Knicks season as a whole? Starting with you, Flo.
LA, the proper word for the next season has been disappointing. With Porzingis getting hurt, that's number one. With Tim Hardaway Jr. getting hurt, Lance Thomas starting some games where he has no business starting games. It's been a disappointing season overall. You had some flare-ups with Joakim Noah and Kyle O'Quinn with head coach Jeff Hornacek. Rough season. Definitely a rough season.
Yes, no other way to put it, guys. No other way to put it. How about you, Danny D? What you think about it?
It's more. It was a roller coaster season, and it comes out to be a failure. Because if we look at the record, we're on pace to be worse than last year, and this will be 4 years in a row we're losing 50 games or more. So it was so promising in the beginning, and it's come down. It's a big F. Like we said, the name of the game is what? To progress and get better, not to get worse.
Very true. You hit upon it. 50 game losses again for the 4th season in a row. 65, 50, 51, and now 50 plus right after this game. If they lose the next one or so, they have 50 as we speak. And like you stated, Danny D, they had a lot of hope, a lot of promise in the beginning. And since our last podcast, it seemed like right after KP went down, that was it. And we all knew that, going into it, if KP went down, that was the end of the season, pretty much, because they really didn't have another player to really step up and really be that franchise player. And that was the problem, because Tim Hardaway is not that guy. Sorry to tell a listener out there, if they're hoping that he is not that guy. I don't see he will ever become that guy, But looking at that going forward, there's some things I'm going to talk about in particular. One thing that might be a little glimmer of hope for the Knicks that I talked about in the beginning. Well, what are your thoughts regarding Trey Burke's recent stellar play? And do you honestly believe that he could be the starting Knicks point guard next season and for the foreseeable future? How about you, Dan D? What you think about that?
Trey Burke is playing excellent. He's emerged. He's coming through. He was down in the development league. We were happy when we signed him up, and he's doing this thing. But the only thing with me, if not a starter, I definitely see him as a 6th man. Because the only problem that I see with Trey Burke as being a starter is he scores a lot. When KP comes back, healthily, hopefully, and things like that, I don't know how that dynamic is going to work with Trey Burke and KP and Tim Hardaway Jr. all regarding the ball and things like that. Because KB he's the number one option when he comes back. So if you take Trey Burke and put him off the bench, he can be the spark coming off the bench, and he's going to drop buckets. He's going to get you the buckets that you need. So that's the only problem that I see him as being a starter, because defensively he's 6 feet. I don't know him defending other guards, but he can flat out play. And it was a diamond in the rough, but I'm glad that we picked him up.
Yeah, I got some thoughts about Trey Burke. I concur with some things you said, but something I might be a little bit different. But thank you there, Andy D. How about you, Flo? What you think about Trey Burke?
I've been talking about Trey Burke since the season began in regards to when he started his season with the G League. I told you how successful he's playing in the G League. He was dominating. You know, the Knicks in LA, D, you guys mentioned it, how the Knicks took so long to bring him up. Finally, they brought him up. Then they didn't play him. Then finally, they played him. Got busy. Then they finally started him near the end of the season, which we are right now. He's getting busy. The guy's a scoring machine. But one thing I realized yesterday after watching the Pistons game, this guy can definitely pass the ball. 15 assists, 1 turnover. This guy's a legit point guard. Is he the answer in terms of the point guard of the future? I'm still not too sure yet. I want to see him start a full season before I can make that commitment to him. But I think after the end of this season, I think he should be guaranteed at least the starting Knick job as the starting point guard just for the upcoming season. He should be the starting Knick guard. Defensively, he's gotten much better. What his biggest issue right now is his height. He's technically between 6 feet. He's around 6 feet or 6'1". So that's my only concern with him. Overall, the guy can score. The guy's very efficient. Potentially, he reminds me of Lou Williams if he does come off the bench as a guy that can score. But right now, he should be starting as the Knick point guard just for next season. Right now.
Okay, I hear you. I agree with a lot of stuff you said, Flo. Regarding Trey Burke, I'm a big fan of his, the way he really stepped up. I didn't see this much potential early in his career. He struggled a lot in Utah. And I think, sometimes you need to give these guys some time, as like I always say. Give them some time to play. That G League development really helped him out a lot. And we were begging for this guy to come up and just give him some starting time. We ain't the type of guy to say, we told you so, but we told you so. And it just took way too long for Hornets to bring him up. I don't know if that's management. I don't know if that's Steve Mills behind that or what have you. But he needed to come up a long time ago just to see what he got. You don't want to go into the next season dealing with all this again. So finally, you got to see what he got. He's getting some starting time. He played well against Kemba Walker, 42 points. The guy can straight out play, man. He can put the ball in the hole. That's what this thing is about. And the big thing I like, if you look at where he played last night, even with Detroit, and Michael Beasley, who put up 30-plus points, I'm just imagining that was KP right there. That's basically the position he's playing. So a lot of that pick and roll play, imagine that's KP. That's going to look great out there. Like you said, Flo, he's putting up assists. So he's showing he can actually move the ball. Well, you want from a starting point guard. My biggest issue with Trey Burke is defense, like you said. He can't help his height, so you just got to play around that at this point. But if he giving you 20-plus points, 10 assists, I can live with that. But the biggest issue with me is getting around picks. He get beat around picks a lot of times, fellas. I don't know if you noticed that. He have a hard time getting around picks. I don't know, he's just not used to it. He's not seeing it or his size. But he definitely got to work on that during the offseason. And also just staying healthy because he's so small. A lot of times he get hit going to the basket and you worry about that. His body taking a punishment 82 games, which is what I worry about with KP as well. I don't know if he could play a whole season as a starter. That's another issue we have to worry about down the road. But to me, I definitely want him as a starter. I want him to come off the bench. I'd rather see him in that position. He's one of the few point guards that could break down the defense, actually could put the ball in his hole itself, which is what you need with KP. KP is not bringing the ball up. He's not controlling the ball like that. He's too big a guy. He has to get the ball in his hands. So you need somebody else that can do that. Frank hasn't shown that. Tim Hardaway hasn't shown that. He's more of a shooter and an erratic shooter at that. And as for Kanter, he's more just inside putting the basket back up with rebounds and tips and the things of that nature. So I think you actually need that type of player starting for me. That's where I look at it going into that. So looking at that in those regards, I just want to move to the next thing. Does anybody else see or want to discuss specific player, organizational staff member, or even potential trade involving the Knicks that you might have a few ideas, gentlemen? I have a few ideas, I should say, but I want y'all guys to start it off for us first and just talk about your grievances, potential personnel moves that you'd like to tell our listeners right here. What you think about that, Flo?
LA, I'm hoping that Steve Mills and Scott Perry listen to this show. It's very important. This is a very important episode. They need to sit down and listen. Number one, if you're the Knicks, you take Frank Ntilikina, Trey Burke, have them work out in Los Angeles. I know Trey Burke worked on his jump shot last summer in Los Angeles with his trainer. I think him, Frank, and also Tim Hardaway Jr., all three of these guys should be working out in Los Angeles. I know there's stories of Frank stating to the Knicks organization he wants to go back home. He missed home. He can't go back home for a long period of time. LA, we had this discussion off air, I think sometime this week. Maybe he can go back home for 3 weeks at best, but other than that, he needs to be in the United States for the majority of the summertime. and work on his jump shot with Trey Burke. Trey Burke developed that mid-range jump shot last summer. Also, in the weight room, playing some pickup games with some guys. Maybe even playing with some pickup games against King James. You know, if King James comes back home to Los Angeles during the summertime in the off season, you know, just try to get better. That's the first important issue. Number 2, they need to definitely think about making a move come draft day. The guy I'm looking at right now, if he's healthy, if I'm moving Enes Kanter and Ron Baker and a 2019 first round pick to the San Antonio Spurs for superstar Kawhi Leonard. That's something I'm really looking at. Hopefully the Knicks keep their first round pick this season. Make and draft a particular player I have in mind. I'm not going to mention that player right now, but draft a player. Hopefully they can develop that player. But you put Kawhi Leonard on the Knicks starting lineup with Trey Burke starting, Porzingis healthy come January. You slide Tim Hardaway back at the 2-guard position, and the Knicks can hopefully draft a big man in this draft. Doesn't have to be in the first round. I see potential steals in the second round, some big men. I don't want to go in full detail, guys, but down the road we'll discuss that. The Knicks can build themselves a pretty good team. Maybe you move Courtney Lee and Lance Thomas, package these guys in a trade, and get yourself another ball player that you can develop. There's potential out there with this team. There's definitely potential with this Knicks team. Hate to say this, but maybe you have to consider maybe firing Coach Hornacek, and maybe look out some potential guys out there, maybe assistant coaches in other current NBA teams, or maybe a particular assistant coach. Let me correct that. A particular coach I'm looking at in the G League, which I will discuss a little bit in detail in our next segment. I'm really looking at. Hopefully, they should give him special consideration. This guy is doing an excellent job with it in the G League.
What's that trade again you stated for Kawhi?
The trade I have is Enes Kanter, Ron Baker, and a 2019 first round pick.
You did enough to get Kawhi.
Is that enough? I don't think the Spurs have no leverage. They don't have leverage at all. Kawhi has all the leverage in the world right now. He doesn't want to play. You can see it. He wants out badly.
Yeah, but they still got him on contract for another 2 years.
Well, he'll probably sit out. He'll most likely probably sit out some games the next 2 years. You have an angry player that's very upset with the Spurs medical staff. It's time for the Spurs to just move on. It really is. This guy is not happy there. Let him go. Why are you holding the hostage in San Antonio if he doesn't want to be there?
No, I hear you, but I got my own idea with Kawhi, but I just don't think that's going to be enough to honestly get him. Because they already got 2 big men anyway. They got LaMarcus and they got Powell. I don't see why they would want Kanter, and I don't see that pick being that great at that time. What you think about that, Danny D?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
What you think about that, Danny D?
Oh, to get Kawhi? Nah, that's not going to be enough.
Elaborate a little bit. Why you think so?
That's not going to be enough. Because you're going from, even though Kawhi is hurt, he doesn't want to play, he's an all-star. He's an all-star 2014 MVP. Enes Kanter, okay, he's a double-double. Ron Baker, no offense, he's not a good player. And the 2019 pick is not going to be a future LeBron James. You're giving away somebody who's an MVP champion for a guy who gets a double-double, a guy who has a broken nose, hasn't played, and a guy who's a kid. It's not going to be enough.
I agree with that. That's the only issue I have with that. Not saying he's not going to be moved, but you're going to have to get more to get him than that.
Well, yeah, they might say throw in KP or something crazy like that. Then they'll talk. They'll be like, all right, maybe throw KP. Now, if you say KP and his Kanter, a draft pick, and probably a Courtney Lee or something like that, they'll probably do it.
But I'm not doing it for KP. I'm not doing it for KP. It defeats the whole purpose of getting them at that point.
I know, but that is going to go off of something. They ain't crazy.
No, I hear you. I got another type of deal that may work, but it's not for KP. What else you want to add to that, Flo?
LA, correct me if I'm wrong. Paul Gasol is a free agent.
Yeah, but if I could sign him back for cheaper than I think I could sign for Kanter.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. The only reason why I'm thinking out Cantor because again he has a high salary. But again with the Knicks, you got guys like Cantor and O'Quinn. Both of these guys can opt out of their contracts. So if you're the Knicks, maybe you do a sign and trade and move Cantor to San Antonio. That's the reason why I mentioned it, because he's got a high salary. You want to make the salaries work. I agree with you, gentlemen. Maybe that's not enough of what I'm offering to San Antonio for Kawhi. But again, that should be the starting point in the trade negotiations. And I don't have a problem with throwing in some more players or more draft picks.
Okay. I hear where you're coming from. I add my stuff down the road. What you think about Danny D? Anything else you want to add regarding where this team is at, personnel, some deals you might have, or just something you want to talk about in general?
We already know we are. Lance Thomas, gotta go. He's the co-captain, didn't even know that, and defensive specialist on the team, didn't even know that either. Fooled me. Ron Baker, gotta go. You gotta start cleaning up the spaces. And like I told you, you guys laughed at me before when I told y'all this. Kim Noah, you gotta force him to retire. Told y'all that. You gotta tell me how to retire. I don't know if you gotta meet him in the back alley, have a discussion. Like, listen, bro, you gotta retire. So you gotta get you these books, man. We're not doing we buying you out. We're not doing none of that. You need to retire so you can free up some of this money.
We did not propose violence on the Knicks Fandom show. Just want y'all put that out there.
I let them know, like, listen, maybe you have a problem. Maybe you didn't know that your shoulders and all that wasn't doing too well. And I think you need to go off for early retirement. You're 33, man. You can give it up, man. Tracy McGrady's 34. So you'll be all right. You got money. You'll be good, man. So, and other than that, the personnel and things like that with Jeff, hopefully he makes it. I don't know how, because with Jeff Hornacek, you really gave him a bad break with Carmelo, didn't want to play in the beginning, then KP getting hurt. So we really don't got a real evaluation of what's going on. So I'm 50-50 with him, to see what's really going on with that. And then if that's the case, I don't know what we can do if we can get a board of advisory to come get James Dolan, because since '99 we've been going downhill. That's all I have to say with that.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Flau?
Wow. I agree. I agree with the Joakim Noah statement. They got to figure out a way to, convince him to maybe just retire, because it seems like this guy loves money. So I don't know if he wants to retire, but they got to convince him to retire. It's time for a change of scenery for Noah. The thing is, I don't want to use the player's exemption on him. I know in the past I've mentioned it, but I had a change of opinion after just looking at the dollar amounts, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely, he's got to get off this team. He's got to move on with his life, and the organization needs to move on.
I hear you. It's just tough. You backed yourself in the corner when it comes to Noah, and I don't see him retiring. I think you're going to probably have to use a stretch position. If not, then you're going to be stuck with it and have to deal another bad contract for another bad contract. Kind of like they did with the guy in Houston. I forgot his name at the moment. The big center. They kept trying to get rid of him for a while, and they finally got rid of him. But I think I'd do something
Dwight?
like that. Huh?
Dwight?
No. I forgot his name. It'll come to me. But it's this guy, the tall guy, even from Houston or New Orleans. I think in New Orleans, and he had that bad contract. It's not coming to me right now, though. And they finally got rid of him this year. You got to do something like that, or you're going to have to maybe trade for a Chandler Parsons type, but not that type player because his contract is awful. But somebody who's that type of bad contract for a bad contract and hope you get better out of him for being in a different environment. Or just do the stretch provision, which I think they're going to probably end up doing anyway. But other than that, O'Quinn, I don't see him re-signing, so that's going to be money off your books. The dudes I do see you're able to move would be, Courtney Lee is actually you can move him. He's not a horrible contract. He's a good player, so another team could use him. But Thomas, he's another guy who's not good. And he's the longest tenure Knick, guys, which I was like, wow, that's crazy. No way I'd have thought he's the longest tenure Knick right now. And not to say he's horrible, but he's just not good. He's supposed to be a super defender, and he's not any of that. He's supposed to be a leader of the team. The team continues to lose, not putting it all on him, but it just doesn't do anything for me. It never has since he's been here, really, to be honest with you. To me, I think it's bigger than that. Is that you got to see where this team is going to go. The main thing is got to hope is KP going to be healthy. If KP is healthy, you can continue to go on and move in that direction. If after a year or so he doesn't look right, you may have to even think about moving him. But the other part of it is something you talked about earlier, Flo, and that's with Kawhi. And looking at Kawhi, I think that's one of the guys you actually can try to really get. I've been going after Klay Thompson for a while. I keep saying that's the one guy I really want to go after in like 2 years. But the more I keep hearing him talk, he sounds he really doesn't want to go. And I don't know if you can wait on him to try to convince him. He's coming out that California swag, and he doesn't seem to mind being in the background. You know, even his father asked him, you should be putting up more numbers and stuff, and he doesn't seem to be thinking that way. I guess maybe unless they lose this year and they don't compete as much as we thought they did in the beginning of the season, that might make him start thinking, well, maybe this is it. They done had their run and take it from there. But I would really try to push for Kawhi if Kawhi is really healthy. You know, you really got the doctor to look at that thigh and say he's going to be okay. He's only 26 years old, guy. He's right there reaching his prime. And you look at Kawhi, that's one of the guys that actually was, like you stated, Flo Danny. He's an NBA champion. He's an NBA Finals 2014 MVP. He's a two-time All-Star, two-time NBA All-First Team, and a two-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year. You know, that you're not going to get that too many guys in their prime right there who bring all that to the table. And the guy is a straight clutch dude, man. He's one of the few guys that can actually slow down LeBron. You ain't going to fully stop him, but he slows him down better than anybody else I've seen. So to have that type of player on this team is what the Knicks desperately need at a small forward position. And I know there are a lot of guys looking at the draft, but I don't see nobody in the draft who's going to come out there with Kawhi Leonard skills right now. I really don't. And with him being only 26, KP being 22, and Trey Burke being 25, and even Cantor, if you keep him, he's only 25. That's a solid little core right there if you can keep all those guys. So a deal I have been looking at is trading for Kawhi Leonard, trading Muide, which I don't see him as a starter anymore. He's just a guy off the bench. And I'm putting him in there for basically, make the cap work. And also, he's a guy maybe come off the books in a year or so. So Spurs may decide to keep him or not to keep him. They got a lot of problem getting franchise players or a lot of players coming there, period. But he can help them off the bench, I think. And also, I would trade this year's first-round pick and switch it with the Spurs. And then I would also trade the 2020 first-round pick to the Spurs. And I would get Tim Hardaway Jr. in the deal to make that contract work. That's the guy who I've been looking more and more at Hardaway, and I just don't see it with this guy. You're paying him a lot of money, and he's not a third guy. He's paid like a second or third guy. I don't see him being that guy. He's more of a fourth guy. So if that's being the case, I need to get him off my books, man. And if I could get him, and he's a similar player that will fit that spot for the Spurs and take that spot, and, if you give this first-round pick and 2020, they might be willing to do that, especially if Kawhi's putting the heat and saying, I want to go. And he's going back and forth to New York getting his late look at, you might well just stay here anyway. Don't have to keep trying for San Antonio to make that happen. But he had to put pressure on him, kind of like what you saw what Kyrie Irving did with Boston. Kind of saying, I'm not coming back, letting Cleveland know. And maybe that team will come out of the woodworks and make that move. What y'all guys think about that?
Right. The only disagreement I have with this LA is I don't want to give up my first-round pick this year. I'd rather give up the 2019 and the 2020 first-round pick. Everything else is fine. I'm fine with. I just don't feel like giving up my 2018 first-round pick. No way. I'll substitute that with 2019 and 20, but not 2018. No.
The only issue with that, you can't trade back-to-back picks with first round. That's the thing they put in the NBA, I believe. So you have to space it out if you're going to do that. So that's the reason why I said 20 in this year. If I switch with him, and like I said, Nick's going to be a top 10 pick, and I'll be willing to do that if he's healthy, man. I think Kawhi is that good a player. The guy done been through a lot in his life with his father passing, and the guy still dropped 17 points in that next game, man. So you can handle something like that. I'm quite sure you can handle New York. If he's healthy, I think that's a stud player. Especially I could keep Frank, because I think they may want to put Frank in that deal over Muide. But if I could find a way to keep Frank and have Kawhi kind of mentor him, I would love to see both of them guys on the same team and the same backcourt or something of that nature. That could be really nasty on that part. What you think about it, D?
Oh, yeah, they're going to take Frank. They're going to take Muide. They're going to take Frank. There's no way, because the height and also how young Frank is. That's the thing. They see Mudiay. Mudiay, man, fool's gold. So, Yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking at it right now. That's very interesting. That's a good matchup, things like that. But then
not
also,
to interrupt you, D, one thing. I did put that trade in the trade machine. Cap-wise, it does work. So I just want to let you know. But go ahead for D.
Yeah. So really, if they can see, that's the thing. That's why you need to have somebody to go in there and this is getting Kawhi's later, because he wants to play in a big market. There's no better market than New York. You could be this. You bring this back, man. You holding down in Mecca. Somebody can sell it to him. He probably would do it, but it would have to be, like you said, the onus would have to be on him to actually step up and be like, listen, no disrespect, Popovich, I gots to go.
Exactly. And he got him a ring. He done did his thing, and it's like he's still not being known as well as LeBron and all these other guys. So it's like begging people to come in there and play with you. Then you got to make the move. This is a different era. I'm not in love with the people switching teams, but this is where KD and LeBron and all these guys have started. You might as well get into it at this point. So, and I thought about it. Because, go ahead, D.
No, that's no disrespect. It's not what KD and LeBron did, because he's not leaving a team to go to a super team. He's leaving a good team and going to a bad team.
No, he gets I totally agree with you. But I mean, just the fact that these star players are leaving their teams like that, when you didn't see that too often back in the day. Like the Patrick Ewing stayed with their team throughout the years. Karl Malone stayed with his team. They didn't just leave their teams, but I mean in that respect.
Hey, man. The Spurs ain't his daddy.
And one other thing I thought about it is why I really would make a move like that if he's healthy. It reminded me kind of like back in 1999 when the Knicks went after Sprewell after the PJ Carlissimo incident. And a lot of people would not touch him. And he was 28 at the time. And that year, the next year, they went to the finals against the Spurs. So sometimes you got to take a chance at a player who's in their prime or right next to their prime who had ability that would fit right into your team. And with him and KP and Trey Burke, and like I said, if I could find some way to keep Frank, I'll be willing to give him this year first round and switch with the Spurs and give him up 2020. I really would, because I think that's a nice core. And like I said, all you would need is some shooting, maybe a two guard. I always say you can get one or two players to come there for cheap, hoping you can move a Courtney Lee or something by that time and free up a little cap space for it. And you can always go over the cap for the guys, and do a Larry Bird extension with a Kanter or Kawhi or those players once they're already on your team. But something we just put out there to the listeners, see what y'all think. Anything else you want to elaborate with that, guys?
LA.
Go ahead, Flo.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Your trade proposal is better than mine, so I'll give you credit where credit's due. Great trade proposal. But here's my question and a statement here. You're moving Tim Hardaway Jr. Wouldn't that mean that Steve Mills made a mistake in going after Tim Hardaway Jr.? When I said on this podcast in previous episodes that the Knicks should have gone after KCP, remember I said that for a cheap deal? Remember I said that?
No, I remember it, but if I'm able to get Kawhi in it, then I love that deal. Great deal, C-Mill. I'm just not a big KCP fan. I just think it wasn't a bad deal getting Hardaway. It's bad to get him for that type of money. That's the issue with me. And if I can move him to get a better player, then I'll do that. I think that's what it depends on. But I see where you're coming from. And like you said, if you didn't want to mess up the cap doing that, then I would agree with you. Then that was a bad move for that regards. But Tim Hardaway's a much better player than KCP to me. As you've seen, he hasn't really done nothing since. So just in that regard, as much as I'm not a huge fan of Tim Hardaway, he still put up better numbers than that. But he's just not a top 3 player. And if he's not a top 3 player, I mean, you may feel like he's going to continue to grow, but just something I see with him, like something he don't fight through picks, some things I'm looking at him, he don't run back. And I know when you're a losing team, you pick up bad habits, so I get it. But I need a player that's going to make these players play defense and make these players accountable on that respect. And Kawhi Leonard's going to make you play defense. He's going to get out there and get it. And like I said, if I got him and Frank, that's a nice little backcourt with that. Him and small 4 and Frank at 2. I can deal with that, at least defensive-wise, on some level. And Trey Burke can help put the ball in the hole. So that's the only thing in that regard. What you want to add with that, Flo?
Yeah, L, I agree with you. But like I said before, you could have signed KCP to a cheaper deal. The Knicks gave Hardaway Jr. 4 years and $72 million. I hate to beat this on the head, but again, it was just a bad free agent signing. He's not worth that money. If you had signed him to a Courtney Lee deal, 4 years, $50 million, no one we wouldn't be killing Stephen Mills. But that's the problem I have. The trade proposal you offer is great because I have no problem moving Tim Hardaway Jr. if I can get Kawhi Leonard. But my point is, you're better off going after KCP to a cheap deal. If he stunk up in New York, you let him walk. You still free up some cap space this season, come July 1st. But you gave this guy 4 years. That's the problem. So now you have to figure out a way, and you hope the Spurs take him in a trade proposal. You hope. It's not a guarantee. Like Dean mentioned, they probably prefer Frank, but I'd rather trade Moutier as opposed to Frank. And I love Moutier, but I'd rather trade Moutier. It just seems like Moutier is more comfortable coming off the bench. He plays better as opposed to starting. He just doesn't look like an NBA starter right now, which is a shame.
Oh, no, he's not a starter. I mean, I hear some people saying, right now, if he was in college, he'd be a freshman coming out. Okay, that's cool, but it's his instincts, man. His instincts, I look at some of the things he do, I'm like, what is he doing? He drives the lane, he kicks it back out once he's like 2 feet from the basket. He messes up layups. He's a scoring person. That's what it is. He can put the ball in the hole at times, but he really is not good like looking off players and cutting and penetrating and kicking it off, which is Frank is much better with that. Is that Moutier, he's a player that can like really break down defense at times. And to me, he looks more like a 6-man than anything else. But if that's the case, and they said you want Frank, Tim this year first round and 2020 first round to get Kawhi, I sign that up right now. Gas up the Uber, fellas. We going. I'm doing that right now. Frank is not going to stop me from getting a 2-time finals MVP and all defensive player of the year. That's not going to stop me from doing that if he's healthy at 26 years old. I got him and KP and Trey. I could make some other things happen if they're healthy. That's just the way I look at it. It's just hard to get those type of players in this league right now. It's very difficult. But, also, there's some players in this draft that could fit that criteria if they don't want to go that route. But that's just like trying to go for the home run. And we'll have a big-time draft show as we always do, listeners, down the road. But, let us know in the comments what you think about that potential trade. And for our next topic is behind the scenes. And for behind the scenes, we go on the Knicks. That's where we talk about some trade rumors, maybe some Knicks articles that we might have saw, everything your listeners might want to know about, or anything in that type of, in that regards. Anything you got for us, Flo, regarding behind the scenes?
Yes, LA. What I want to talk about is the Westchester Knicks finish with the best record in the G League at 32-18. And the reason why? Best team on the road, 19-6. Unfortunately, they were 13-12 at home, unfortunately. They are the number 1 seed in the G League playoffs. They had a first-round bye, and they will be playing tomorrow in the conference semifinal since they had a bye. 1 game tomorrow on NBA TV, 7 p.m. against the Raptors 905. And the one person I've been looking at potentially coaching the New York Knicks is the head coach of the Raptors 905, which is former All-Star Jerry Stackhouse. It's probably one guy I really love. I think he would do an excellent job coaching the New York Knicks. But guys, definitely look at that game. I'll definitely be watching for it. Winning that game, we'll go into the conference final, which is 1 game, and it's going to be either Thursday or Friday. So guys, I'll be rooting hard for this Knicks G League team. Let's go Westchester Knicks. That's the only positive to this Knicks season. They're doing an excellent job developing players. Let's go Knicks, Westchester Knicks. Let's go. Bring home a championship to New York.
No, I concur with that. We definitely would like to see them bring a championship. That's as close as we getting right now. But as for Jerry Stackhouse, I'd be a little nervous with him, man. I hear he got a temper, man. Bad enough Hornacek will be fighting Noah and all that, allegedly. I don't need no Stackhouse incident, flipping on somebody. But what you think about that, D?
Yeah. And I said, when that happens, it won't be alleged either. When Jerry Stackhouse do it, it won't be alleged. He did it.
He got these hands. Oh, I hear you, man. I appreciate that, Flo. Ain't that where there, Flo?
No, that's it, guys.
Okay. Much appreciated. That's pretty much it for behind the scenes. We go on the Knicks, we're going to see what happened in that regards. But for our last segment for the day, fellas, I want to have NBA. And this is our NBA Talk section where we discuss briefly about some of the things that stood out regarding the NBA as a whole and some things just want to bring to the forefront. One of the first things I want to talk about, guys, real quickly, is basically Patrick McCaw injury. I don't know if y'all saw that one. That was a really nasty spill he took the other night regarding against Jerry Stackhouse. Not Jerry Stackhouse. You got him on my mind now. Against Vince Carter. And it came up underneath him. I don't really want to say he did it on purpose, but it's kind of like got caught in between those things. Should I go for the defense? Should I not? And it got it delayed and really nasty spill. Hurt his ankle, hurt his back, had some issue with paralysis. Thankfully, they're saying that he is getting some sensation in the lower extremities. So, hope the best for him. And what y'all got to think about that play and overall? Would you want to discuss that real quick? What do you think about that, Flo?
It's an unfortunate injury. Patrick McCaw, I wish you a speedy recovery. Vince, you've been in this for almost 20 years, man. You know better. Kid was already up in the air, man. Just leave him alone. Let him get the dunk. No reason for you to go, undercut him. I understand it wasn't intentional. I get it, but there was no reason. The guy's already up in the air. Just let him just dunk the basketball. Should have fouled him when he was on the ground. Not when he was jumping, when he's up in the air like that. So that's a dumb play by Vince Carter, especially a guy who knows better. Dumb play.
Yeah, definitely. And it was third quarter, and it always been close. It wasn't like the game was like the last few seconds you got caught up in it. Well, y'all not playing for nothing anyway, that team, What you think about it, Danny D?
Yeah, it's like you said, very unfortunate. I hope speedy recovery McCoy. And for Vince, the only thing he could have did was to stay away. And when he went up, Flo said, is either don't even go towards him. He should have went the other way, and because he brushed him, so the guy doesn't know what he's doing because he's in the air. So when he's going up in the air, he sees Vince, so he doesn't know if he's going up for the block. He doesn't know what he's vulnerable. He doesn't know what's going on when he's up in the air. So unfortunate, but I hope everything speedy recovery.
Yeah, totally agree with you guys. It's just like football. You get caught up in the air like that. And this is not football, though. That's the thing. These guys ain't wearing no type of protection or anything. Like you said, that's the most vulnerable spot when you are up in the air. And it's very unfortunate and just really sad to see like the aftermath of it. But, as we go on from there, I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard again. I know we talk a lot about him in this show, but he recently traveled back to New York to continue rehabilitation on his lingering quad injury, the right quad at that. What do you guys think about that? Starting with you, Danny D.
I think it's good. If I'm a Kawhi, I'm taking as long as I want. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, you should play. No, I shouldn't. Until I feel 100%. You see what happened to Isaiah and the rest of the people who get hurt and things like that. I'm taking as long as you want until I'm not your doctors. I'm talking to my doctors clear me. When my doctors clear me and I feel that I'm 100%, I'm going to play. And that's it.
Yeah, take notes, Isaiah Thomas. But I hear you. What you think about that, Flo?
Yeah, like D mentioned, shame on the Spurs, organization number one. I saw this stupid nonsense where they had a team meeting where you had Tony Parker questioning how hurt Kawhi is. Shame on Greg Popovich. Shame on him. Because I'm pretty sure he was in Tony Parker's head, trying to tell him to go at Kawhi. That's terrible, man. Very terrible. If the guy's hurt, you got to take his word for it. He's hurt. You can't question you can never question how hurt a player is. You're not in the player's body. If he's hurt, you got to respect that. He's telling you he's hurt. He is hurt. Just respect that. This Spurs organization is really starting to crumble slowly but surely. And if I'm Kawhi, you know what? You're already in New York. Go see your doctors. Meantime, speak to your uncle. Also, let the Spurs know, listen, I'm already in New York. I don't even want to go back to San Antonio. Just make a trade for me in New York. No reason for me to come back to San Antonio. My stuff is already here in New York. I already have a place in New York. So, you know what? Just trade me here, period.
I hear what you're saying, Flo. I wouldn't go as far to say I think it's Popovich in his ear. I think it's more Tony Parker saying I had a similar injury, which was not even worse, doctors stated from what I've heard. But, they just show you how much important he is to that team. And like you stated, the team is not so much crumbling, but they're losing pieces. The players are getting older, and they haven't replaced them. You haven't really replaced Ginobili. You haven't replaced Tony Parker. You darn sure haven't replaced Duncan as of yet. Even though LaMarcus is playing well, he's no Tim Duncan. And that's the issue. Without Kawhi, this team is not going to get farther in the playoffs, and they know that. That's what it basically comes down to, and they starting to feel the heat. This might be one of the few times they'll make the playoffs, although I still think they will. But all that's coming down all at once. So I understand the frustration that you haven't seen them basically all season. As you saw last year when they went down with Houston, how important he is to the team. That team basically lost all his legs after that. They didn't have the same energy after that. Was that Houston or Golden State?
Houston,
okay. And after that, you saw that team.
No, it's Golden State. It was Golden State.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because yeah, exactly. Thank you. But after that, you saw that team basically was deflated. So you saw how much important he is to them, and they know that. But like you stated, Flo, you can't rush that. You don't want this guy to be injured his whole career. He's only 26, so this is your franchise, as be seen with the Knicks. When your franchise player go down, your team is going down 9 times out of 10. That's just how it is. But pretty much that was it regarding that, fellas. And John Wall recently made his return after missing 2 months with a knee injury. What you guys think about the impact John Wall made in his return, starting with you, Danny D?
He had a good impact, man. 14 assists, because he was getting a lot of flack, man. They said they were playing better without John. The ball was moving. So he made an emphasis to give up the ball and let everybody eat, so they say. And he looked good out there, changed the direction. And when it came to crunch time, the ball was in his hands, because I saw a lot of games with the Wizards. When it came crunch time, nobody knew what to do. Bradley Beal was all over the place. And he looked good out there, man. Congrats, John Wall. Keep on doing your thing, player.
Okay. How about you, Flo? What you think about John Wall?
Yeah, I'm happy John Wall is back. They need him for their playoff run. Potentially, they can probably play spoiler in the playoffs, depending on who they match up against. And he's got to continue to move. He's got to move the ball, because this team seems like they have a lot of issues with him. They feel like he's a chucker. So he's got to move the ball. So he had a big game. Welcome back. Hopefully he'll continue to move the ball and trust his teammates. He's got a good backcourt mate in Bradley Beal that can shoot the rock. He's got to trust his teammates. That's very important. It's very, very important. LA, not to bring back the subject, but again, I don't think Tony Parker has the balls to talk to Kawhi like that. I really believe that's pop in Parker's ear.
I hear you. I know, on Tony Parker, he's a veteran, so I tend to differ. I think he would say that, knowing his past and some things he did. I don't think he's that shy when it comes to certain things. But Greg Popovich, I think he got a different way of going about it if he really want to get his point across. I don't really think he had to need Tony Parker to get it done. He's more of a general type in that regards, and he's more of a player coach from what I'm hearing, like behind the doors, I don't think he really going to go that route if he has to, especially knowing that's his last main piece. So you take Kawhi out there and you lose him, you ain't got much of a team right there, man. That's just the honest truth. But as for John Wall, it's glad to see him playing back, and healthy and everything of that nature. He's just got a great talent. But just me personally, I know a lot of people saying, they play better without him. But this regular season, folks, don't get it twisted when it comes to that. You ain't winning enough if John Wall not on your team with the way this team is set up. That team is not good enough. And it's not good enough anyway to get deep to me. And I honestly still don't think he's going to finish his career with this team. I really don't. I just don't think, I think down the road they're going to move him, because I just keep hearing too much back and forth. Either him or Bradley Beal going to end up moving. I just get that feeling. So we'll see what happens as they go further along in the playoffs. And, it's going to be a little adjustment, but they played it well together. They got, further in the playoffs the year before. So it's a lot of things that it could go different ways, but I just don't think it's their year either way. And I think as it goes along, he going to end up move, or either Bradley Beal going to be moved. I just feel that way. That's just how things going to go. But anything else y'all guys want to add regarding NBA talk? Anything you want to bring up? Start with you, Danny. Oh, go ahead, Flo.
My question is to you. If you had a choice, you are an opposing general manager, who would you go after, Beal or Wall?
Depends on what my team is. What type of team I got. That's honestly what it would be. Because I don't think one talent is so superior than the other. I'm like, this guy's way better. It depends on how my team is set up.
Should the Knicks go after John Wall?
I thought about it before Trey Burke got better. I'm not saying John Wall. Please don't jump on me with that. But the thing with John Wall doesn't win. that much. And it's hard to blame him. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but I don't look at him like I looked at Kyrie. I told you I was a big fan of Kyrie long before they traded, and I think people were sleeping on him. I thought he's a big-time talent. Not to say John Wall isn't, but John Wall has a little issue regarding a lot of play. I don't know how many players can play with John Wall sometimes. I think that's the issue. I keep hearing off the court stuff. And I don't know how well he would do in New York in that regard. I think he would play well with KP, but I don't know the New York, the press. I don't know how well he would do with that. I don't look at him the same. I look at Kyrie. I think Kyrie was just a superior talent in that he's a guy that can make a shot anytime he wants. I don't see John Wall in the same way. And looking at that, I don't want to put all that money into John Wall to get him here when I got Trey Burke, and I'd rather go at somebody like Kawhi or something like that down the road, or even another real good small four in the draft. I'd rather go that route. What you think about it, Danny D?
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. Because he's a guard and things like that. We need other pieces. So like you said, Trey Burke and things like that. Don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal player. But right now, we got enough guards. That's what I'm trying to say. But the opportunity, if it was the right opportunity, things like that, but now. Well, there's some other teams out there that definitely need him now.
Oh, definitely. I agree with that. Like Indiana or something could definitely use him. But what you think about that, Flo? Would you make the move for John Wall to the Knicks?
No, I would probably go after Bradley Beal and move Tim Hardaway Jr. like we mentioned earlier in the previous segment. The more I think about it, Beal is the guy. He's a stud. Wall is a stud, but my biggest problem I have with Wall is not even so much about his play or attitude. To me, it's more about his durability. That's the thing that's bothering me in the back of my head when I watch John Wall. I just think he's a guy who's going to miss at least 10 games each year based on his knee injuries.
I hear you. He's proven that you're right so far. But for Bill, I'm not a huge fan on Bill. It's just that he's not a player that you have a hard time and not stopping. Like, I've seen players shut Bill down or Bill's just shut down. He's not that player. I'm like, all right, you just throw it to him and he could put the team on his back. And for me to put him as a main franchise dude, I don't know if I would do that. That's the only thing.
Do you see Bill as a number 2 or number 3 option?
He could be number 2 if you got a real good number 1, He's like kind of that Ray Allen type stuff, but he's not as good as Ray Allen in his prime to me. That's the only thing I look at it. I thought Ray Allen was a better player overall back, especially in Milwaukee. He was putting up really good numbers before he got older,
No, I agree with that. I think Bill is a solid number 2. Just solid number 2. I'm not so sure he's a number 1, but I think solid number 2 is definitely he'll produce as a solid number 2.
Okay. Anything else you got for NBA talk you want to bring up, Flo?
Hate to say this, guys, but unfortunately, Isaiah Thomas finally had hip surgery. I wish him a speedy recovery. Guys, what's your take on this?
Never saw this coming. Oh, man. Once again, we ain't trying to tell you we told you so, but we told you so. And we weren't the only ones. We heard it throughout the league, but even before they even made the deal, we said this Isaiah Thomas injury is way more than they letting on. Danny D spoke about it, and he told everybody about it. Go elaborate, Danny D. I know you talked a lot about this.
Hey, man, listen. I'm not in the medical profession, and I'm not no doctor, brother. I'm just going from a bird's eye view. We said this in the summertime. Because and you know what, it's like laughing funny things like that, and it's very, very like I'm saddened by it because it's like this goes down. We can do a whole 360 because this shows you with the Kawhi situation, things like that. They knew something was wrong with his hip. Danny Ainge knew, because if that was the case, like Flo said, after this went down, what happened? He fired the whole medical staff.
Yeah.
He knew.
Thank you.
Isaiah was out here pouring, and that's what makes it even worse. Isaiah probably even made his injury worse by even playing. He shouldn't even played. When he got hurt, when he got injured, he should have went. Remember, he got injured in the beginning, not the playoff. He got injured in the middle of the season, and he continued to play. He should have got that surgery, shut it down, and this year he could have reevaluated and get his money. You're messing with this man's money.
And that's the thing where a lot of players really got frustrated with. And that's why it's hard to really get on as much as I used to. I used to really get on KD and LeBron. And I still do on some regard. But when you see a guy, like I stated before, literally spit blood for this team and play after assisted passing in the playoffs and things of that nature, playing hurt, like you said, Danny D, and the guys didn't, and you just threw him away. And you traded the guy, and it says it's all about business. So other players look at this and say, well, why the heck am I killing myself for this team and breaking my back for them when they're just going to get rid of me? And I've been part of the community. I'm part of the team. I'm part of the fabric of this team and the city. And you go get Kyrie. No doubt Kyrie is a better player. We all know that. But the point being is that if this is your team, this is your player that you want to represent your team, then you're supposed to show more loyalty. It goes both ways. So when that doesn't happen, players like, well, I'm just going to do what's best for me. I'm doing make sure I get my ring. I make sure I get my money before I get hurt, which is why you're seeing Kawhi taking his time. He realized maybe only get one more major contract. So it's like, get it while you can get it. Because you don't know what's going to happen down the road with these contracts and these NBA bargaining sessions and salary cap issues down the road. You want to say something, Flo?
No, listen. When I was laughing, I wasn't laughing at Isaiah Thomas. I'm laughing because I'm saying to myself, I told you so. I mentioned this. L, you mentioned this. D, you mentioned it. D, you went in full detail about it. L, you criticized me not because of what I said about Danny Ainge. You criticized me because I called him. I used a name and you corrected me saying allegedly. That's why I criticized Danny Ainge, because, like D mentioned, Danny Ainge knew all along what was wrong with Isaiah Thomas, and he was trying so hard to get rid of him quickly, and he was trying to pull a fast one on the Cavs' new general manager at the time, Kobe Altman. That's why I'm laughing, because that's why I was like, I told you so. We all agreed here on this show he should have done the surgery. We all said it. And I'm hearing this now. Like I said, when I broke this story down here, I'm like, that's why I'm laughing, because it's a shame. Because I'm crying behind closed doors. I'm crying because I feel Isaiah Thomas. I feel for him because he went through a lot, like you guys mentioned. The passing of his sister. The guy played with with blood. So definitely, I feel for the guy. He's missing out on potentially over maybe $180 million. He's missing out on. Wish him a speedy recovery. Get better, Isaiah.
Definitely. Nobody's making fun of that. I know I think we all know where you're coming from, and pretty much all coming from the same part. And, it's just unfortunate. It's something he should have got done way before the season started, especially he didn't feel like he was healthy. It made no reason not to do it at that point. And he just basically hurt his whole stock, his whole worth. That Cleveland thing was horrible. It made him come off like a bad guy when he was looked at as a pretty much clean-cut guy for the most part, and looked as a team player. I never heard no real issues in that regard. Beforehand, Sacramento, yes. But once with the Boston, a lot of that cleared up once they put the ball in his hand. But in Cleveland, it was just horrible for him. His numbers went down. He was proved not to stay healthy. It didn't help him at all playing. And if he felt he wasn't right, he should have sat out. And I think that's what made Kawhi doing what he's doing right now, looking at how this team has churned on him. And it's like, it's not worth it. It's just really not. But, that's pretty much it for that regard. Anything else you want to add there, Danny D, NBA talk?
NBA talk. My NBA talk, we're talking about Darius Bazley. You ever heard of this guy?
No.
Let me tell you about this guy. He's supposed to be a 2019 draft potential. And he committed to Ohio State, and he decommitted, and he was supposed to go to Syracuse, guys. But once again, he has decommitted, and he's not going to play college ball. He is taking his talents where? To the G League. He's going to turn 18 in June. He said he's going to go to the G League. He's going to offer up his skills in the G League for a year and then enter the draft in the G League. So he's not going to college route or the overseas route. He's going to the G League. And he's a McDonald All-American. How you guys feel about that?
LeVar Ball rubbing his hands like Stevie J, y'all. But, oh, man. I really want to do a whole breakdown show regarding this whole NCAA. I know we've been hearing this back and forth. We touched upon it a couple of times in our NBA talk, and just, regulatory was wanting to expand on certain things when we go into those type of topics, hot topics and things of that nature. But This whole NCAA has got a real bad smell to it, man. It's hard to really enjoy the March Madness knowing some of the things that's happening. This madness behind the scenes. That's the crazy part. I feel like it's like Goodfellas, man. When you just saw everybody, just bodies popping up everywhere. Every second it was somebody else getting caught. This team getting caught. This coach getting caught. It's just dirty, man. And it's like they still trying to put it on the players on some level. They still trying to blame them on like, well, you know, they didn't supposed to not come here for the money and all that. But yet these coaches making money hand over fist. These teams making money hand over fist. And then you want to lock these players now. That's a new thing they pushing for 2 years. Talking about you can't even do the one and done no more. I'm like, why am I locked down for 2 years and I'm just getting this supposed great education for 2 years? You're not getting no degree in 2 years. What is so great about it? You're just locking these players down. And this is the only team, the only sport that lets you do this. Tennis lets you come out like 16 years old, you become professional and everything of that nature. Hockey at least got a legit junior league. Baseball got a legit minor league. All these people taking advantage of these players, and they'll say, oh, well, we're helping the NBA out. You're not helping the NBA out in that regard when it's come to the NBA, when it's the LeBron and the Kobe's. Yeah, you help out with the other ones, but that's what the G League is supposed to be doing, as you stated, Andy D. It's just got a bad taste in my mouth, man. What you say about that, Flo?
Man, you guys hit on the head. Let me just add a little bit, but not too much. I wish the kid all the best. I hope he does get drafted in the G League. I'd like to comment about that down the road. We'll see, but I don't want to comment too much about it now. But LA, great analogy in regards to the Goodfellas. Like you said, it's the March Madness. The real madness is not the games. It's behind the scenes. The thing that bothers me the most is everybody's blaming the kids, but how about we blame the adults? The kids are supposed to be learning from the adults. The adults are supposed to be teaching the example. The adults need to be held accountable, not the players. We have to remember with these players, they're coming from rough beginnings. A lot of these players are growing up in ghettos, you know, and they're trying to advance their life. The safest way for them to get out of the ghetto is to play basketball. You know, it keeps them out of trouble because if they don't have basketball or play a particular sport, or if they're bored in school with academics, guess what? They start doing things, become mischievous, and end up doing things that we don't want them to do. You know, where potentially could get arrested. You know, then they have a record. You know, and that hurts their future. So basketball is keeping these kids out of trouble. You know, these kids, very important for these guys. These kids definitely to have rec centers, keep the after school programs going. They need this. They definitely need this. But again, my issue is not with these kids turning pro. My issue is with the adults. The adults are supposed to lead an example for these kids. These kids don't know any better. They depend on the adults to guide them, to give them direction. That's the whole purpose of college anyway, for these kids to learn from these adults, pick up a skill in college, hopefully in a particular major that they like, learn from these adults. These coaches, they look at these coaches as father figures. Because a lot of times, a lot of these kids that grown up in the ghettos, they don't have a father figure. So these coaches become a father figure to them. For example, I can go back in time with Georgetown, with Allen Iverson and Coach John Thompson, or with Patrick Ewing in Georgetown. I can go on and on and on. But at the end of the day, it's on the adults. All these coaches needs to be held accountable, and they're not being held accountable. That's where the problem is. And shame on the NCAA, by the way. Shame on them, too, because they know better.
No, definitely concur with you, Flo. And the fact is just, it's so lopsided now. It's like even you name Patrick Ewing, at least some guys graduated, you know, and you actually built something down the road. You can network with this organization as Patrick is coaching the team now. You don't get that in one and done. You don't get that in this 2 years and done. And that's not happening. That connection not happening. It's so lopsided for the organization, these colleges and these coaches now. That money is so far extreme different. The seesaw is one-sided now. And that's the problem that you didn't have back then. That's the issue right now. And these players are not getting that type of money. That money is so big. And then you're going to say, okay, just getting the scholarship money, a little stipend, that's supposed to hold you off. And these guys could get hurt, never play again, and you're done. You got 1 year of college so-called classes, and a lot of the classes, they just push you through, let's be honest. So it's like they just want to make sure to make you stay eligible. And a lot of these coaches would not even care. That's the part that get on my nerves when they acting like they care. They would not care this guy could not put the ball in the hole. There's a lot of people that need to go to college and nobody cares about them. You don't hear nothing about putting any money in that community. but you dipping and dodging and taking these guys out of these so-called little areas that nobody ever heard of. You can find them out there, your neon Bordeaux's or blue chips that you could find them, but you don't care about a lot of other players from the same community. So don't act like you're doing all these guys a favor. If they couldn't put the ball in the hole, you wouldn't care about them. And that's the honest truth. But the point is now, these players are not getting any of that type of money. It's a bigger issue than just that, and we could go real deep detail with that. But I don't want to be on my platform and just standing on talking all day with that. But anything with that, Danny D?
Nope. So they're saying it's half and half. So some people agree with it, and some people don't agree with it. Because they're saying, because, he's going to be 17, 18, and the G League is not, what I'm saying? Yes, he's there to develop and things like that. But then now you got to think about it. If I'm in the G League too, I don't got time to help you develop, man, because I'm going to have to go at you because we're both striving for the better things. But now I'm not 18. Remember, these are grown men. These guys are 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and they're trying to get their shot too. So, honestly, I got to go at you. I'm here to help you out things, but I got to give you work because I'm trying to develop. So it's twofold. Or he could have went the college route and waste a year at Syracuse and not, learn the 2-3 zone. And, so it's 50-50 on what you're doing. I wish him luck. With me, if he would have did that, he could have went overseas, but then they said overseas, he wouldn't got the same playing time. But if he goes to the G League, he's going to get used to the schedule and the development and learning how to go to city, how to travel, and also learn to manage his money while being in the G League.
No, and just to answer that, I know I didn't really answer that because I think about some other part. I see where you're coming from, and I think it probably is a good move, especially you just feel like you don't want to go to college. Because I'm looking at what happened with the kid from Arizona, DeAndre Ayton. He probably the top pick in this year's draft. And he got caught up in that, too, with the allegations, and he's supposed to be allegedly taking money and things of that nature. And that's kind of hurting his stock, not so much talent-wise, but it's making character issues come up where you didn't know about that before. So if you kind of know you're going straight to NBA and this is what you're going to do, kind of like apprenticeship, then, you're connected with the right organization, NBA, the biggest one out there. That's the way you want to go. You can get the best coach in there. And actually build from within. But the problem is with that, you're not really getting paid what you should be getting paid. That's the issue, But, hope for the best for the kid and, go from that perspective. That's all I can really say with that at this point. And it's going to be a lot of they got to figure out some way to go about it, though. Either make this insurance policy be more money-wise for these players, or you got to get something back some type of way. I don't know how they're going to do it. But it's going to be a lot of players going to keep making that move as we go along because you're just not getting enough out of it. As you saw with Ben Simmons, he didn't want to be there that year, man. It was basically a waste for him to go there that year. It really was, to that 1 year at the school. It really didn't help him in that regard. Right. And as we come to our closing remarks to today's shows, fella, I want to start with Danny D. You got any closing remarks for today?
I want to thank you guys for having me on the show. Fans, we back, man. Keep on listening. Keep on subscribing. We're going to keep spreading the news and spreading the love.
That's right. Thank you, dear Danny D. Much appreciated. How about you, Flo? You got anything for our closing remarks?
LA, I want to thank you guys. Also, I want to thank all the listeners. Definitely, please subscribe. We're all over the place. iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker. We're all over. Please subscribe. Tell a friend. I appreciate all the love and support you guys have given us from day one. Definitely appreciate it.
Yes, definitely do. Much appreciate listeners. Much appreciate Danny and Flo. Couldn't do it without you guys, as I always say, because it's the truth. Another excellent show, as always. Much appreciate listeners. Please subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel, Apple iTunes. Give a positive review when you get a chance. It always helps the show grow. We're definitely going to be here for y'all. Try to be a little more consistent with things. Got a few more things to talk about coming up the pipe. Keep a lookout for it. Thanks again. Please tell a friend about the show. Most importantly, keep tuning in. See ya.